What's up, everybody? Sai Soul, I'm always sending out love energy and definitely just sending out encouraging energy for everyone that can benefit from it. Today, I wanted to just talk about, I was having a discussion going over my past experiences with one of my close friends. And she had asked me, like, how was I able to overcome all of the things that was holding me back in life, as y'all understand from me on this channel. And if y'all haven't been familiar with this channel, y'all don't know that I had long-standing battles with mental illness and mental health problems that went from mild to severe cases at times. And I'm not going to really get into that whole story right in this moment. But if you're interested, you can look at some older videos that I have that may give you a more deeper understanding of it. So, but yeah. So I just basically wanted to talk about how I was able to overcome it, just simple and plain, by finding the root cause to the problems that I was dealing with. You get what I'm saying? So, for example, one of my biggest issues was let's just stay on the topic of relationships. So let's talk about romantic relationships. And let's correlate. My mother had I was really attached to my mom. I had my mom and my father, so it wasn't like I was from a single parent household or anything. My parents are still married happily to this day. But I was a mama's boy, you know what I'm saying? I grew up like really attached to my mom. You get what I'm saying? And in some ways, like, it over time it negatively affected me, because I was having, like, I would meet women and I didn't realize that I was dealing with these issues and wanting them to love me in that way as if they were my mother. For example, like, a lot of the times we don't know how to fend for ourselves when we're in that dire states of mental health. So it was like I was looking for nurturing. You get what I'm saying? I was looking for nurturing. I was looking for an emotional outlet. And because of growing up, I started, like, I would always feel sick when my mother left. You know what I mean? I would always feel uneasy without her around. And so over time, you start realizing, like, you're looking for that same thing in every woman that you date. And, I was able to get a lot of things from my mother, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say I was the most spoiled, but I definitely could say I was, you know what I mean? And so when I wasn't able to get that type of attention, that type of affection or love from any woman I was dating, it would cause me to be angry. It would cause me to spiral out of control. But the thing was, I didn't really know how to communicate how I was feeling because of the way I grew up. My family, we loved each other, but we wasn't walking around saying I love you. And I never really seen my parents be too affectionate in front of me. You know what I mean? I probably could count on like 5 hands, and 5 hands, 5 fingers, you know what I'm saying? Of how many times I've seen that. Me and my older sister, We didn't grow up with a whole lot of I love yous or, none of that really. It wasn't no kisses off to the way to school. Me and my mother, we had that relationship though. You know what I mean? Even though there was still some type of emotional disconnect in a sense, we still had enough where I felt I could confide in my mother. I could go to my mother for anything. So that put a lot of weight on my mom. And I didn't realize that growing up, I was putting this same weight that I put on my mother onto love interests, different girls that I was dealing with. It's like I wanted to be saved from my own self, from my own energy, from my own mistakes, from my own shortcomings, from my own wrongs. But what I realized was that being a part of growing, a part of true growth is being able to face your wrongs, being able to manage by yourself, even if you could have support, being able to not be afraid to look at yourself in the mirror. You get what I'm saying? And so a lot of the root causes was, for me was just, there was never love expressed in a showingly way. For me, I realized me having these empathic traits and just feelings and being connected with my emotions and sort of wearing them on my sleeve. Like I was looking for that. You get what I'm saying? I was looking for ways to express myself emotionally, ways to open up, and that wasn't always around. So it made me, it manifested into me being angry, me being needy, me being codependent to my mother, to girlfriends, and and I realized like it wasn't no one's fault. You get what I mean? It wasn't no one's fault. It was like the roots of the issues of my core issues with love relationships and just relationships in general was just not knowing how to express the love or receive the love I was looking for. You get what I'm saying? So to what I mean is I have all this in my mind that I feel or I might want to say, but I didn't really know how to express it. I didn't know how to really be vulnerable to put my needs first, or I want to say. So I would just become so caught up in the relationship and not wanting to feel like I was abandoned by these women that I would just accept things that in my heart I wasn't cool with, that I didn't like. So maybe it was a way they spoke to me on a certain occasion. Maybe it was a certain behavior they exhibited in front of me on numerous occasions that I would just override because that feeling of feeling like I needed a woman's love. You get what I'm saying? I felt like I needed a woman's love because that's all I've ever really received, and it was from my mother. And I mean like love in like an openly way, because my father got a great deal of love for me. I wouldn't trade my father for anybody. But when people aren't raised with their own parents, but my dad, he didn't have his dad, he had his mother, but he wasn't raised with his dad. So like, he didn't really come to me and have a lot of man-to-man talks or things like that and then guidance in that way. But what he did was he just led by example, and he was around and he was great support. He showed us that consistency and that dedication. So I'm grateful for that. But it's just the reality, it just wasn't like... So I went to, like I said, I look toward women for that. You get what I'm saying? I look toward women. I look toward women to talk to. I had struggles opening up with males in my life. Even still to this day somewhat. But it's better now. But I had troubles opening up with male figures in my life sometimes just because I didn't have that with my dad, where I openly talked about things and that were uncomfortable, that were deep, that were overly emotional. You know what I'm saying? So I I definitely never learned really how to express myself to women. I didn't know how to not be overly attached to, say for instance, if my girlfriend, that whoever she is at that moment, and I'm by myself now, but as far as when I was out here with dating, but um I was looking for them basically to to validate me. You get what I'm saying? So if put it like this, if they were upset about something, I felt like I had to know. Like I felt like I had to know right then and there. I felt like I didn't know how to not personalize it like they're mad at me or they're upset with me. You get what I'm saying? It was just, nah, I gotta make her feel better. I gotta, if she don't feel better, something I did, like I gotta, like I was attaching my emotions to their emotions. You get what I'm saying? Not realizing that you have to give the person space to feel what they're feeling, and let them come back to you stronger. And then maybe you'll have a better conversation about it. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up to be like, it was two extremes. It was either really wanting to know and pushing too hard, or being avoidant. You get what I'm saying? And it's like just not wanting to know the issue at all. It's just everything blows over, fine, we move forward. Now realizing that tension still exists, resentment still buried. You get what I'm saying? So that was a root cause. A lot of the root causes for certain relationships. And so when a woman might not be able to get out of their mood that they may be in, that may be negative, like I ain't know how to handle it. Like I always would feel like it was a step closer to me being abandoned. Like I was about to get left, you know what I'm saying? And so throughout my life, you know what I mean, up until recent years, I was always attracting partners that had those issues within themselves. You get what I'm saying? They had their own neediness, they had their own trauma, or maybe they didn't, but I was exhibiting all these behaviors, so it made it toxic for them to be around. So I don't harbor nothing to none of those women or none of those girls, because that may have left me in the past, because it was all a lesson and they did what was best for them. But I understand like where I was at in those times, like feeling like if you say you don't want to talk to me on the phone because we kind of at odds, like it tears my whole world apart. It's like my mother's not here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where can I turn? Like what how can I fix it? It was always wanting to fix everything, not really wanting to face the rather undesirable side of relationships, man. And there's really no set layout with me talking about this. It was something that got brought up to me, and how I overcome the past issues that I had. You get what I'm saying? And that was a situation that was a root cause. And so how it correlates with mental illness was that I got even deeper into all of these little issues that I had as I was getting older. You know what I'm saying? They were getting deeper. They were getting deeper. They was making me negatively attached to therapists in romantic ways, like to the women therapists that I had. It was being romantically attached because they were giving me that attention that I was seeking. You get what I'm saying? But when they pulled back from it, because they seen where it was going, I didn't know how to deal with that. It was like I was abandoned. It was like I was turned on. It bothered me. It angered me. It made me lash out. It made me angry. You get what I'm saying? It made me feel like I wasn't enough. It made me feel like insecure. But the more and more I started going into these hospitals, and I went to hospitals for 10 years straight, from like, not straight, but within a 10-year span, from like 2009 to till about now, recently, really, like maybe like a little under 10 years. You get what I'm saying? From about 2009 to 2018, you know what I'm saying? 17. So the more and more I was going to those places, there wasn't always the best experiences, but the later years, like that 2017 year in 2016, is I started getting it. I started practicing a lot of the things that was taught to me that wasn't about taking medication, that was prescription drug. Like, I started implementing the mindfulness. I started reading. I started to spend a lot of time with myself. I started to not dwell, but reflect on a lot of the issues that I was dealing with and be objective, not just blame others. Figure out how I was accountable in this situation, how I could be accountable, how I could make better choices, and how I was responsible for them. And over time, I started letting go of things. I started to discover why I may have acted a certain way, like getting into these unhealthy attachment, romantic illusions with these therapists. And some of them weren't illusions. Some of them was flat out what it is. But getting into these, the illusion was the idea that it could be more than just something that was, like flirtatious. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I started to through that and talking to some of the male therapists that worked at the support group I was at, because I was having some of the situations with the women there that were working there, I started to discover what it was coming from. Like, it was coming from childhood. It was coming from wanting to feel like I matter. Like, growing up and, being like strapped down by your mom because she just wants the best for you. So she's not necessarily letting you explore and be free to be a teenage guy and date the girls, do this or that and the third. And then on top of not really getting the man to man, like, this is what happens when girls do this. This is what happens with this, that happened the third. It all turned into me being awkward somewhat, or like overly like anxious to please like women or girls that was my age in my peer group. So I missed out on a lot. And that made me bitter, and it got me to the point where it was hard because I would see my cousins, I would see they're my age, they getting all the girls out, and they're all around us. But me, it seemed like something was wrong with. So that led into, like I said, when I would get a girlfriend, like, I just felt like I had to like go above and beyond, or I always felt like I wanted more. Like, I gotta have this girl, I gotta have that girl, I gotta get this, that. So when I got old enough where my mother really couldn't have those ties on me, I just went berserk. I just started like really exploring, went through a lot of negative situations because of it, positive too. But I understood that the root cause of me just womanizing at the time that I did, going from partner to partner, it was just because I never really experienced a lot of this growing up. You know what I'm saying? I was never privy to it. So I learned that I had to really let it all go. And it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. But I learned that being angry over these things is not gonna change anything. But before, when I was angry, I never knew why. Like, I never knew what it stemmed from. I just thought it was the world was against me. I thought it was just how it played out. I just thought, but a lot of it stemmed from the childhood experiences and feeling abandoned and feeling left out. So I always was searching for a woman's love. I always wanted a woman's attention. So when a woman, especially a woman of authority, would show me that love, it was like I was just like rose-colored glasses, because I remember my mother was like tight on me because it was her fear of something bad in the world happening to me as me being her only son. So add that authority onto, and then the overly affection, that not affection but like the compensation my mother gave me, me being a mother's boy. So you add those two extremes when I would meet a woman that was authoritative, like she was like the boss of where she was at. She was like the top this, the top that. I was strongly attracted. And then then I meet them, then they're showing me love, like they're into me, like they want to know my story. It creates like this dynamic. They did this codependent dynamic because it was unhealthy. You get what I'm saying? Now, to this day, I still love women. I'm still attracted to women who are in positions of authority. I love them. Like, I honestly am attracted to that type of woman, even though I love all women. You know what I'm saying? But it's more healthy now. The unhealthiness was I get attached to them and they can't give me what I'm looking for. Now I'm lashing out. A lot of the same patterns that I carry on with my mother, somewhat to this day, but I've done a lot to be more appreciative and grateful for it. So that's what it was, I just wanted to, like I said, when they will pull back that love, like I said, I'm lashing out, man. I don't know how to take it. I feel sick. It's all of that. You get what I'm saying? But it's life, you know what I'm saying? Those were the root causes of why I could have went through what I went through, or why I did go through what I went through with mental illness and romantic relationships and relationships with women, and I know I wanted to like give advice for some reason about how like to get to your root cause. That was my intention when I started recording this video. But as it went on, it's just the energy told me to just give a real guided just backstory of my experiences. Now I know I went all over the place a little bit, but that's just sort of how I speak. That's how I communicate. But we got to a point, and the point is that anything could be overcome once you learn to identify that you have a problem. And then once you identify that you have the problem, what's the first actions that I'm going to take toward finding a solution? And then once you start taking the action is to be patient with finding the solution. You get what I'm saying? And then once you start finding the solutions, really, it's just how you implement them. And just like I said, just be patient with yourself. Love yourself enough to understand that you have these issues and to work out better for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be accountable for everything in your life, no matter what we go through. You got to figure out the root cause. It's up to ourselves. Like I said, my close friend, like she was saying, like my Jazzy was saying, like it's up to you. It really is up to you. Like granted, like I felt a lot of way about these things. Do I feel like it was all right? No. But what was I responsible for in these situations? And then how could I learn from it? Then how could I grow from it? And then how could I not make these same mistakes again and still be appreciative for the lessons? You get what I'm saying? So it's all about just being self-aware, and you gotta want the change. You know what I'm saying? You gotta want that. You have to. You have to want it. Nobody can want it for you. People could be around, they could support you, but the more and more you just staying in a that dark space, the more the support gonna fall away, because it's like you can't really support someone who isn't gonna support their own self. You get what I mean? So I'm gonna end this right here. I know this was pretty long, but it had to be just to help other people, and maybe some men out here or even women out there could really get an inspiring message from this. All right. I just want y'all to know that I love y'all and I truly appreciate y'all and all the support. No matter what, we're going to keep pushing, man. I'm sending that peace, love, and light out to you and your family through these times, through these historic times. And just know that we're going to come out on top in the end, all right? Peace, love, light, it's so, all right?